On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me.
And again, and it's on to Wingy, who gets the final touch. And West Bromwich Albion now have a 2-goal cushion.
Mowat on the volley. Oh my goodness! What a spectacular goal that is!
It's another short run up again. Pereira hits it bottom corner. 3-2 Albion.
Get in!
What a turnaround at Molineux. Robinson flag stays down. Callum Robinson
what a
chips
finish.
it over the top.
What
It's
a
5
finish.
for West Bromwich Albion. It's 2 for Robinson.
Christmas on the Baggies Podcast, giving you the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion throughout the festive season. Hello and welcome back to the Baggies Podcast, where of course we're giving you all the latest news, views and opinions on all things Albion. We're back again today with another episode of the podcast. Back again with a sort of semi-match reaction episode for you, but also it's our last episode before Christmas, so we're going to be doing some festive fun as well. We'll be going through Friday night's action against Barnsley. We'll also be discussing our favourite festive Albion moments, and we're going to be taking on a bit of an Albion-themed Christmas quiz. But for this episode, I'm joined again by another guest from across the pond. It's Baden from the WBA Canada page. Baden, how are you doing, mate? Welcome back to the show.
I'm doing very well, considering what I watched yesterday.
Yeah, I think we're all holding up a little bit stronger because we're getting into the festive period. But I think that draw yesterday came as a bit of a halt in expectations at the moment for Albion fans. But Baden, you do some great work over on WBA Canada. For those who haven't listened to the episode that you were in last time, what sort of stuff do you do over there?
So I do a lot of interviews with various people. You've been on my YouTube before. In fact, this is a perfect chance to plug it out now, ladies and gentlemen. Louis has told me about some of his least favorite West Brom kits, and I told him about some of mine. That video is out now if you want to go check it out. But I just like to chat West Brom with various people. I've interviewed some great guests, notably Chris Brunt, Paul Pescasolido, Carl Valentine. Those are 3 great guests I've had. But I think it's just, I'm the same as all of you. I love West Brom, and I love to have the platform to be able to give my opinion and speak about how I feel about the club. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'll leave some links obviously to your social media and also that video, because that is out. That's out today, isn't it? You know, that video together. Basically, we isolate 5 kits. Baden slates 10 kits from our lifetime. So, and there's also a video with some nice kits in there as well. So make sure you go and check that out. There'll be some links in the description. But Baden, you're looking very festive with your nice hat on. How excited are you? Ready for Christmas? Are you all geared up, ready?
Yeah, Christmas shopping is done, which is fantastic. I find that's one of the most stressful parts of the season. And now I'm just ready to enjoy it. It's going to be good to see the family again, because obviously with it being a pandemic, especially last year, I didn't really get the opportunity to celebrate Christmas with anyone outside of my main family, it was a little bit weird, but I'm glad that we're sort of getting back to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be nice to see family again, especially at the festive period. But you're obviously very prepared with your Christmas shopping. You're very prepared coming into this podcast as well, from what we've been discussing off camera. If we start by talking a little bit about last night, which was a difficult watch for Albion fans, it was a frustrating night, to be honest. Starting off, Baden, with your thoughts before the game, going into it. Lineup changed a little bit from what we experienced. Well, I say a lot from last time, obviously with the COVID cases coming back into the squad. What did you make when you first saw the lineup, and how are you feeling going into the game?
The first thing that came to mind for me, and I'm sure it's the same as every other West Brom fan, is where on earth is Taylor Gardner-Hickman? We played very well considering the circumstances against Reading, and he was the main catalyst of all of that. So I just don't understand why he didn't get the chance to start. Now, I spoke a little bit about it. I did an Instagram live immediately after the game, and I feel like Valérien Ismaël has a little bit of a feeling of he has a couple of guys who are his guys who he trusts in the game situation. And I feel like Jake Livermore is obviously the main man. He's his captain. And of course, you got Alex Mowat as well, who was with him, and he was his captain when he was with Barnsley. So I feel like that doesn't leave an awful lot of room for Taylor Gardner-Hickman. The thing I find disappointing about that, though, is I always think as a coach, the mindset should be you want to give the players who have been playing their best the chance to play. It didn't seem right to me. But that was my immediate thoughts. Otherwise, the lineup sort of has picked itself the way he sets up. The only other one is, as everyone else would say, Jordan Hugo again. I'm not a big fan of him, and I know most Albion fans aren't. But again, I feel like he's sort of tying his hands behind his back, because I have a feeling that Grady Diangana was only able to play a certain amount of time based on fitness and stuff like that, because I have a feeling he would have started otherwise. So what other option did he have? Not really anyone, unless he changed his system. So lots of fans who are going to be watching this will probably be saying, well, what about Reyes Cleary? And I understand that, but I mean, at the same time, he was never going to pick him today. Yes, would I like to see him come in? Obviously. But I think it's one of those things where maybe he needs to be sort of brought in a smooth transition where he's not immediately just thrown right into the team. But those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think actually Cleary's a nice point to touch on, because I don't think I've quite mentioned him yet on the podcast. I think I did a little vlog from one of the under-23s games where I chatted about him a little bit, but it might be nice to talk a little bit about him, because obviously scoring goals for fun in the youth ranks. He played well. For starters, I think a lot of fans knew he wasn't going to play yesterday, because he had obviously played 2 games this week. He played under-23s and under-18s this week, which is quite a lot of football for anyone, let alone a guy of his age, especially if he was going to play first team. He's obviously a man with a lot of talent, and, especially a 17-year-old, he's obviously very good. It's quite a difficult one for Albion fans, because you want to see a young guy get a go, and when you see somebody misfiring as much as Jordan Hugo is, you want to see him given the go. And if you were Cleary, you'd hope that at some point you're going to get given the chance, because obviously if people aren't performing as well as they should be, then you'd hope that as a young player you'd be able to come in and do the job. Baden, when do you think's maybe the right time to give him a little run in the first team?
See, I am not against him coming in now.
Okay.
I don't think bringing him in and saying, you got to go out and you got to go score all the goals right away for us because we need goals right now is the right thing to do for him. Like when you see players, and there's a couple examples that come to mind in the situation that are sort of similar. Saido Berahino, when we first brought Saido Berahino into the club, it was a long period of time where he would be coming off the bench. Now, I think we sort of need to do a similar sort of thing with Cleary, because the thing with him is, as much as he's been scoring goals for fun, what happens if he comes up and he doesn't score goals? And what is that going to do for his morale? Now, if you give him the chance to come off the bench, maybe he sort of grows into his opportunity a little bit. And I think that would be the goal for what we're trying to achieve here. And another similar situation is, I think he shares a lot of similarities with what we wanted from Carlin Grant last season. Because we brought Carlin Grant into our team, we signed him, and we pretty much, every Albion fan, at least I thought, the expectation is this is going to be our goal scorer. This is our savior. This is the guy who's going to help us stay in the league. Now, it didn't turn out that way. And look at what's happened now. It's taken Carlin Grant a full season and a little bit to recover and find form again. And I still don't think he's the same player he was at Huddersfield before coming to Albion.
Yeah, it's so like harsh on hard to kind of think about it like that, Baden, because you want to give a young player a chance, but you also at the same time, Ishmael probably doesn't want to wreck him because he knows at the moment the biggest need in this squad is for a goal scorer, and if he brings in a young player, 17 years old, probably might not have even passed his driving test yet, and he's going to expect him to come and score championship level goals, it's going to be quite a big downfall for him, or a big fall from grace if he can't provide that the relief from the pressure that Albion fans are sustaining on him at the moment. And yeah, I want to see him given a go, but I also kind of get what Ishmael's doing with him, because he doesn't want to chuck him in at the deep end and leave him exposed to the sort of backlash that Jordan Hugo has been getting, for example. But Baden, the game was incredibly frustrating, throughout, and you brought some talking points with you. Would you like to kick us off with a couple of those?
I think the main key thing with this game, and I'm sure every Albion fan will agree, was the missed opportunities. I listed the ones that I saw right off the bat. 3 minutes into the game, a beautiful ball by Alex Mowat, and right onto the head of Cedric Kipre. Now, Kipre hit the post. And I can't help but feel like he has to score that. There was pretty much a wide open side of the net there for him. And I think it might have been either a matter of him trying to make the perfect header and try and get it nestled right in the corner, or just a matter of him not aiming the header properly. Because, I mean, even if he just needed to head that on target, and just as long as it wasn't right at their goalkeeper, it's most likely in the back of the net.
Yeah, so, it's just awful. I mean, I was watching that, and I was just like, I was up celebrating, I will admit, and that was the same for who else's chance was I up celebrating for? I can't remember whose it was, but I was literally, up in the air, and I thought, this is in. Obviously, a professional footballer is going to be able to put that in the goal. It wasn't Hugo's, to be fair. I had no greater certainty than that wasn't going in. I just knew it. I just knew from the moment it fell to him, I was like, that's just not going in, is it? And yeah, with Hugo, Baden, where do you kind of stand on him? You touched on him earlier in the episode. What do you make of him?
He has to score again. That's another one where I'm like you. I knew as soon as it came to his foot, it wasn't going in. But a professional like him, he needs to find a way to get good contact with that ball, because side footing is it's Sunday league stuff. The way he tried to finish that, even if he had gotten it past the defender, the keeper has a chance to save that.
Yeah,
like it's not like he's been blocked with a great shot. Now, I honestly don't know what to say anymore about him. We all know what has been happening with him. He scored 1 goal for us, and he should have another one. Now, potentially, could he have had the presence of mind to realize he had a man right there and take a touch away to maybe try and make it an easier finish? I mean, I don't trust him to do it, but it was something that could have happened. But it's just not good enough again, and I'm sick of it with him. And that's why I think the main priority in January is to just find that striker who's going to give us a little bit of a lift.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a priority. But another thing I wanted to chat a little bit about is, the transfers and the budget in January, because obviously we saw that Guochin Lai was there at the training ground earlier in the week. A complete surprise to, I think, everybody involved. Probably Ishmael himself probably wasn't aware of him popping around till a couple of days before, really. What do you think that meant for us? Do you think that may mean that we have a bit more budget to play with? Because Val insists that those talks were very positive.
Yeah, I personally am trying to look at it as a positive thing, because even if it's for his own selfish reasons of wanting to sell the club, their only way he's going to be able to sell the club is if he pumps money in and gets us back to the Premier League, because it's already been well documented that he's not going to sell us until we're back in the Prem. So I'm optimistic about that, but not fully optimistic because there's, in our history with this owner, he's done a lot of things where, and his group have done a lot of things where they're saying the right things and they're posturing for the right stuff, but they don't deliver. And I think we've even seen it this year. At the beginning of the season, it was said that we were going to have a competitive budget because we sold Matthias Pereira. Does signing nobody sound like a competitive budget to you? Because it doesn't to me.
No, it spells quite the opposite. And when you're bringing in Jordan Hugo as your only striker of the window for a side that's probably needed a striker, I'd probably say since Rodriguez left a few years ago, I think that's probably a telling sign that, you haven't got that budget to play with. But Ben, any other talking points that you picked up kind of from the game?
Some of the play that I saw that really worked, because some stuff, like the build up in some of the plays, looked really good. It was just the finishing. And I think one thing that I saw, and actually it contradicts what the commentator in the game was saying, at least over here in Canada, when we moved the ball quickly, things started to happen. It was a matter of maybe a one-touch pass or getting one touch and then passing it on like a two-touch. Then we could move because we were quicker than that Barnsley team. The commentator was saying that we were trying to be too quick, but I think that was one thing that in our dangerous moments, our speed was really one thing that was really helping us.
Yeah, definitely. I think that if we like against, I'd say Millwall, if we just sit and we slowly sort of slide the ball between ourselves, it gives a chance to a side like that to get nice and organised, to just have a think about where we might be playing the ball next. And as you said, when we hit the ball at pace, we're quicker than most teams in the mind and on the field. To get past them and to sort of get into their organised structure and try and sort of mess them about a bit and get them disorganised, make them do silly things that they shouldn't, get them out of position and that kind of thing. It's just when we move the ball slowly, we look so weak really on the ball. We look so predictable. But when it gets skimmed across the turf quite quickly, we can really find ourselves with lots of openings. And yeah, I think sometimes it can be a bit hectic. Trying to actually control the ball for starters can be sometimes a little bit of an issue for us. I don't know why, but once we've got it under control and once we're playing it quickly, it can be quite a nice thing.
Yeah. And a couple more nitpicky things in just the way we're playing. It's one thing is the way we cross the ball. Every time we get to the chance where we can cross the ball, it's always just a looping cross, and no one ever, I guess they weren't taught how to whip the ball into the box. Because sometimes you can't do this little loop and this little flip up with your toes nonsense. Sometimes you just need to whip the ball into the box, and even if it's a goal that's not a pretty goal, it's a goal. Someone needs to call Chris Brunt and tell this team how to whip the ball into the box.
It's a good point. Ben, you need to get on the phone to that man and say, go and help this. I'm gonna say it. Go and help Darnell Furlong to cross the ball in, please, because that free kick that he took that ended up in the stand, I could have cried. It was so bad.
You've put me on to my next point. Darnell Furlong.
Oh dear.
He was terrible.
Yeah.
Primarily, his biggest moment of shame in this game was when he had that chance.
Yeah.
Just near the end of the game. And I just don't understand. Again, I've said this a whole bunch today, but I just don't understand. He's a professional footballer, and the ball lands to him, and he's trying to get it onto his more dominant foot. Now, as soon as he did that, the chance was gone. Even if you have to take a touch, you have to take that chance to at least get a shot on target. Because I said it even in my live on Instagram, where if he had missed the target, that's life. But I feel like it's even more painful that he had a chance to get a shot off and it was blocked because he tried to move to his strong foot.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe it because he's a right back. He plays on the right hand side. He should be more than able to use the the foot that he's been given, and I just couldn't believe that he actually try and chop inside when he could see that the space was on his right foot. The space is there for him to hit it. Yeah, I was really disappointed with Furlong, and I am normally reason to be a big fan of him and have been so far this season, but past I'd say 3 games. Well, Coventry might be a bit harsh, but the last game against Reading pretty bad, and the same for this one. Unfortunately, I haven't been impressed with him at all.
I feel like I'm getting myself worked up, but I have 2 more points.
Go for it. Absolutely.
And this one sort of goes backwards a little bit, but the substitutions. I want to talk about those for a second, because you make the sub Diangana on for Robinson. Someone needs to explain to our coaching staff what the reason is that you make substitutions. The reason you make substitutions is so that you can try and bring someone on who can affect the game. If you're trying to get a goal, they might give a different kind of look to try and change the game. If you're trying to defend, you bring someone on who might be able to just be calm on the ball and get rid of it. Now, Robinson off, Diangana on, I feel like that's fairly like for like. I'm not even talking about Jordan Hugo yet. I will get to that with that. But it's like for like. I feel like if you would have asked me 2-3 years ago who's better, Diangana or Robinson, I would have said Diangana, and I would have said that sub helps us maybe get a little bit more creativeness into our team. But the reality is, with his lack of confidence the way it is with Diangana, he's very comparable to Robinson, but without the finishing touch that Robinson has. So I just don't understand that sub. And of course, Jordan Hugo needed to be that sub.
Yeah.
I want to say, of course, he works hard. You see him work hard, but maybe that the chance to bring on that player, and tying back to the point about playing a little bit more quicker on the ball, to bring a winger on and move a quick winger into the middle who's played striker before, might have been something that might have given it a little bit of a different look.
Yeah.
Now, Malumbi for Livermore. I don't see the point in that. I feel like they're fairly like for like. Of course, Malumbi's younger, faster, better, but I feel like that would have been your moment to bring on Taylor Gardner-Hickman, because he's got this flair to him, and I'm not going out here saying he's an attacking player and this, that, and the other, but he's got this thing about him, and he can make things happen. And he just played so well last week. I don't understand why, if you weren't going to start him, why that moment wasn't the time you decide that's who we're going to bring on. And then I just want to repeat, because this is on my list twice, Jordan Hugo needed to come off.
It's so important you put it on there twice. The
second time it's bolded, so
yeah,
I want to make sure
it's
that
bolded, so it has to be done. Yeah, I mean, the fact that he got taken off at 90 minutes and not 60, of course, the fact that he didn't get taken off after 60 is normal. It baffled me. I think Malumbi for Livermore is a change that I would have personally made quite significantly earlier, when you realise that you're actually playing, when you get the ball and you're playing it quite slowly, large parts of the game rather than fast, which is obviously what we've talked about, that gets opponents disorganised. I think that's when you realise that Malumbi's a better fit. And yeah, I thought that the fact that Taylor Gardner-Hickman didn't get on is absolute robbery. I mean, how he didn't start in the first place is bad enough, but how he didn't get a minute in that game, I'm not buying. Well, I do buy it a little bit, the fact that maybe he's trying to bed him in, maybe he's trying to, calmly bring him into the first team, not place any pressure on him. But when a player's playing that well throughout the season so far, Coventry played really well against Hull, played really well against Reading, man of the match in all of those games, how you cannot play him at all, it just baffles me, and I couldn't believe it with Ismail not playing him. And I think that's either extreme management of a youngster, or just being quite stubborn, and as you said, playing to the guys he thinks is his favourites.
Yeah, and that situation as well kind of reminds me of the Berahino situation, because I do recall once Berahino once we knew how good Berahino was, there was still a feeling out period where Steve Clark still kept him on the bench.
Yeah.
So I still feel like it's going to be fairly similar to that. And it shouldn't be. We're in a whole different generation of West Brom. And the same... Wait, am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Go for it. It's
the
happening.
same shit keeps happening. Guys, pardon my potty mouth.
Explicit warning chick on the podcast now, but no, it's fine. But yeah, Berahino is an interesting example. And, you know, he was bedded in so tenderly, or like kind of like, you know, just dotting him in here and there, playing him on the wing, playing him out of position quite a lot of the time. It worked in the end, but I suppose that was probably the way that Steve Clark felt the way to go with it. But with it
work, though?
Eventually,
because he got pretty resentful pretty quickly.
Yeah,
like, I'm not saying that it's related, but I wonder if there was trust issues from the beginning with Berahino. Like, it's clear that they didn't trust him when he was doing so well at that young age. So, anyways, you would know more than I would, because obviously Saito and you are good pals. But you know,
yeah, he didn't like playing on the wing. If I'm being honest, he did say in the podcast, if everybody listened to that, he did say I wasn't a fan of playing on the wing. But it did teach me a bit more about what I had to do to get in the side. And I suppose he didn't really like that because he's a striker. But yeah. Baden, have you got any more talking points before we?
I have a couple things still.
Go on, go for it.
I hope you guys don't mind. I'm kind of derailing it with my anger about this game. But the one thing that you got to feel bad for Jordan Hugo in this game. You get near the end of the game, he gets into a confrontation here with, I don't remember, I didn't write down his first name, but a player called Hellick from Barnsley that should have had a clear red card.
Yeah, he's a good player.
His foot was up on his thigh with his studs up.
Yeah.
If that's in the Premier League, it's a red card. Now, would it have made a difference? Who knows? Probably not. But would it maybe have? Is there a chance we could have had a couple more chances in the box with the last 10 minutes with them down to 10? I think that's definite.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, I like Michael Hellick. I do like him as a player. I thought he was going to be brought to the Hawthorns at some point because he was so good for Ishmael last year, but. Goodness me, that was like an amputation. That wasn't a football tackle. That was an operation above the knee for Jordan Hugo. Yeah. Although it did mean he was subbed off, which I suppose many Albion fans may have cheered at in the end. But I feel like he had to go for that. I mean, you know, he did. I don't think the referee even saw it I don't think he even saw it the first time. Like, he was unsure whether to give a yellow. So I don't know what he was watching or what he was looking at, twiddling with his thumbs or something. But yeah, absolutely.
And he was right there too. Is the annoying thing.
And
anyway, I do want for a second here, apologize to Mr. Michael Hellick. I didn't know your first name, lad, but if you're watching this, don't come after me.
Scary man as well.
So I think that's just about it. We're still in this fight for promotion. Obviously, we were 3 points away at that point, and I don't know what the results are today. I don't know whether Fulham has pulled something out of the hat today, or Bournemouth for that matter. But it's just another blow, really, to our attempt to get back to the Premier League.
Yeah, actually, Baden, it's not really Fulham or Bournemouth that I think we need to worry about anymore. It's Blackburn, because they've gone a point ahead of us in the league. They are third now, and we are fourth. So, yeah, it's less tight around there than it was when QPR overtook us, because we're 6 points clear of QPR and Stoke. But Blackburn now a point behind Bournemouth, and we're 2 points behind them. We are still very much in it, but it just shows how quickly a team can kind of sneak up on you like that.
And one last thing about just that topic. I don't want to live in a world where Stoke's in the Premier League and we're not. So
it's not life worth living if Stoke are in the Premier League and we're not. But Baden, we'll segue across now to a lighter topic. I'll say some more enjoyable chatter after dissecting that disappointing draw against Barnsley. Let's move on to a little bit of festive fun, because obviously it is our last episode before Christmas. We're both looking particularly festive. I've got next week's dinner on my head, which is always very nice, and Baden is dressed as one of Santa's helpers today. But let's discuss our best Albion festive moments. So these are games that happen during the month of December, which we'll call the festive period. I've picked out 3. Baden, you've also picked out 3. Baden's picked out one that I particularly am actually genuinely disappointed in myself for not thinking of. Baden, do you want to kick us off and pick us out a favourite game throughout December for Albion?
So my first game is a game versus Blackburn in 2011. And most Albion fans will remember that game for a particular volley by James Morrison. And for me, it was a peak period of my watching West Brom. I had come home from England in September of that year, so I was proper invested in the season. We were wearing the lovely third kit that was red. And it was just a great game, good win. And it was the times of some of my most fond memories, because it didn't involve lack of strikers and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's just simple with that one.
Yeah, I mean, we had Peter Odemwingie up front, which is the epitome of a quality striker, let alone for Championship level, but for Premier League level. But I've gone for one with Odemwingie involved as well. I'll say that one now, because if we can kind of go to more recent times as we go through 3, but I've gone for Newcastle 1, West Brom 3, which I think was the same season as you're talking about there. But it's not about Odemwingie. He did score twice, which I feel is a bit harsh to kind of dismiss him. But Salomon Choi scored in that game, and obviously I think later on in that season he scored a hat-trick against Newcastle as well. But in that game, I think he ended up dribbling through most of the Newcastle defence to score, which you never knew what to expect with Salomon Choi. I think the most worrying thing about him from a defender's perspective is he didn't know what he was doing with the ball. So how were you going to know what he was going to do with the ball? Because he looked clueless, but he still managed to get past defenders just by being so out of it and not knowing which way he was going to go himself. But yeah, I've gone for that one. Baden, do you remember Salomon Choi fondly?
Not really, to be honest. I'm now wondering, now that we're thinking about it, is Choi to Newcastle what Callum Robinson is to Chelsea?
He may just be, because I feel like he only played that season and the next one in the Premier League. I don't know how he got on the next season, but maybe that's Newcastle fans, like Chelsea fans, if whenever they see Callum Robinson or Salomon Choi, they really do have shivers go down their spine. But Baden, what's your next one that you've got lined up for us?
So the next year, we played QPR, and we won 2-1 again. And the moment that comes to mind for me, I was at my grandparents' house at the time, who are Arsenal fans. And it was odd because, of course, they're watching Arsenal. We went and sat in a completely separate room and flipped the West Brom game on. And Chris Brunt scored probably one of the best long-range shots I've seen a West Brom player score. And it wasn't one of those ones where it gets airborne and it just curls into the corner. It was so simple and into the bottom corner. So that was a great moment for me to watch. I think there's a theme because they were also wearing red that day. So we go with that again. But yeah, that was it. That was just a great day. And it was great because Arsenal, I think, lost as well. So it's nice when you cheer for the team that's not the bigger, so to speak, club. And your team wins and they don't.
Yeah, I can't say I've had that many times with my family, because some of my family are Man United fans. So I've been watching West Brom in one room and they've been watching Man United in the other. And I'm sure you'll be aware of, everyone will be aware of exactly how that one goes. But yeah, I feel like that's a nice one. I'd keep that under your elf hat for later on in this episode, Baden, because you may need that particular goal later on. But I've gone for next. I've gone for Rotherham 0, West Bromwich Albion 4, which I think was a couple of days before Christmas, which was a memory I want to remember quite fondly. It was a really nice game, and Dwight Gale scored a hat-trick in that one. Harvey Barnes scored as well, of course. Missed you, Harvey, and Dwight, actually. A free kick from Dwight Gale, which isn't something I can say I've seen too many times from a striker for West Brom. Dwight Gale scoring a free kick. But yeah, that's another one that I have particularly fond memories of. The games between Rotherham and West Brom don't often go down as my favourite games, but I feel like with our poor form in December throughout the years, I feel like that one has to be considered.
So you said hat-trick, right?
Yeah.
So my last one was the hat-trick of headers.
Oh, I can't
by
miss this.
Another player I would love to have on the team right now, Mr. Salomon Rondon. There he is.
There he is.
And it took me by surprise because I feel like with Rondon, he got so much stick in his West Brom career. And I think it was simply because of the way we played and how it really didn't suit the way he plays, because I feel like every time he'd get the ball, it would be sort of lumped at him and he'd be told, hold it up and see what you can do. But that's such a hard way to play. But for whatever reason that day, we just had these chances, and of course he scored off the corners, but he was simply magnificent. You don't typically see West Brom strikers get hat-tricks very often nowadays. So to see him get that hat-trick at the Premier League level, which is the highest level you can do it for West Brom, it was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I can't actually believe I've left that out. Like, Rondon is one of my favourite West Brom players of all time. I know it's a weird one, but he's just a player. I constantly had arguments with everybody I met in the ground about, I was always sticking up for him. And eventually I just I've got to die on this hill of Salomon Rondon fandom. I've got to keep going with this. And yeah, to miss out that hat-trick of headers when I was literally going through lists from the seasons and missing out that, I feel royally ashamed of myself. And I think
you at that game?
I went absolutely mental, Baden. I cannot explain the celebrations. It was actually, I think a lot of credit has to go to Chris Brunt again for that, because I think he put in 2 at the 3 crosses for that, and they were peaches of crosses. I mean, to find Rondon, who was often wedged between 3 centre backs at a time, it has to be said that was some very good crossing from Chris Brunt. I've gone for another game that involved a good striking performance, and that is from Charlie Austin in Birmingham City 2, West Bromwich Albion 3. Charlie Austin on the double to come back against Birmingham City after we looked like we were actually going to lose the game. And it's one of the best away performances I think I've seen from Albion in recent years, and it's certainly one of the only great performances I've seen from Charlie Austin at West Brom. And it was a great performance. Baden, that's quite a recent one. What do you remember about that?
I think that goal he scored in that game, and I'm talking about the one where he turned his man and absolutely he's destroyed the ball.
Yeah.
That's one of the best goals I've seen from a West Brom player in a very long time. Like you, I don't really have fond memories of Charlie Austin, and I actually remember that game mouthing him off because he didn't really have a good goal scoring record. It's similar to when we'd be in the Premier League and bring Canu on last season. I really wouldn't expect much out of him, and I thought that was the game. But then all of a sudden he scored that equalizer. And I thought, okay, we're in this game now. And then he did what he did, and
Yeah, of course.
I guess I should do it up here. Really.
Yeah, up there. Yeah, what a great performance from him, and some very nice moments that we've managed to pick out there. I am still kicking myself under the table now about Rondon's hat-trick, because that is disgraceful. I think I should be very ashamed of myself. But a good list there from both of us. But Baden, we've got a little bit of a challenge now for you. As we're heading on to a West Bromwich Albion festive quiz, where I'm going to ask Baden 6 Albion-related quiz questions, which I've handily prepared. And we're going to see how many Baden can try and get. I think these should be okay. Obviously, me and Baden are the same age, so we should be able to remember similar things. And I hope that all of these, well, all but one, are fairly answerable. But Baden, this is going to be a test of my firstly editing skills. Can I make this as dramatic as possible with the music in the background? Baden, are you ready to face the first ever quiz on the Baggies podcast?
Dim the lights, and here we go.
Yes, here we go. So first question, up to you, Baden. There's no time limit on any of these, so take your time. The first question is, who scored the 2 goals in the 2-0? Well, which 2 players scored the 2 goals in the 2-0 victory against Portsmouth to complete the Great Escape?
Oh God, we're off to a bad one here. It's Jeff, our man Jeff Horsfield, obviously scored the 1, and I can picture him. See, this is for you and me. This is a bit ahead of our time.
Yeah.
But we've heard these names in folklore of the Albion. This is bad. Go on.
I can give you a couple of clues if that helps.
Yeah.
So he played for Aston Villa. He was on loan from Man United as well at the time.
I know who it is, I believe. Is it Richardson?
Yes, well in. So Jeff Hill.
I could picture him in my head because when I did my editing of my video for our video with our favorite kits, he was the picture I chose for that year's kit. So I knew he had scored that goal.
There we go. Kieran Richardson and Jeff Horsfield. Baden, 100% so far, 1 out of 1. Let's head into the second question. So, we are now, of course, known as West Bromwich Albion, but previously known as West Bromwich what?
Strollers.
Oh, he's 2 from 2. 2 from 2. He's on fire.
It should be the Netters. And if WBA already watches this,
they need to be ready. Right. Question 3. 2 from 2, 100% so far. Out of the current West Brom squad, who has scored the most Albion goals?
This is gonna take me a second, just to think about this. I'm ready to write off Sam Johnston right away. So, I mean, it's got to be Matt Phillips.
He's 3 from 3. What an answer. That is cracking. Because I, when researching this, my first thought when I thought about putting these questions together, it's got to be Matt Phillips. But then the thing is, you start second guessing yourself and you start thinking, oh, how many's Carlan Grant totted up in the end? How many has Callum Robinson got? But yeah, Matt Phillips with 26 Albion goals, which is quite worrying, is our highest scorer in the entire squad. But yeah, you're 3 from 3, 100%. This is your fourth question. Which 4 players were involved in Taxigate back in 2017 to 18 in that season?
Okay, first of all, let me sing you a song. He's not Gareth Barry. He stole a fucking taxi. He thinks he's playing GTA. Gareth Barry.
1.
Again, this is gonna be an explicit video, guys. We got Jacob Livermore.
Yep.
Oh, this is a throwback. See, I want to say Craig Dawson, but I don't think it's right.
No, Craig Dawson was not.
How many strikes do I have on this?
We'll do baseball rules. You get 3 strikes. 3 strikes. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're on
Kieran
2.
Gibbs. No.
Second strike. Oh no.
I need to really start thinking now. Who was on that team? Johnny Evans.
3. So that's Johnny Evans in there. He was captain at the time and had his captaincy stripped for the rest of that season. That's 3 out of 4. 1 more to go.
This is where you really need the dramatic lighting, because this is like it all comes down to this.
I can hear the dramatic music being edited in as we speak.
Oh, let me think about this. So what year was that again? That
2017-18. So that was the season we were under Alan Pardew. went down that season.
Oh God, Alan Pardew. I wish he was in the taxi so he could have got fired. So that year we had. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna blow this here.
I can give. Oh no, go on,
Yeah.
go on.
Yeah, I don't have an answer yet. So
Okay. Do you want to?
to?
Okay, he is well, as far as I'm aware, currently at the club.
This club, West Brom.
Yeah, but not as a player.
Oh, so it has to be James Morrison.
No, that is the
Oh,
wrong answer. The answer was Boaz Myhill, who I believe is in the academy goalkeeping setup at the moment. But yeah, that is unfortunately your first incorrect one, but only just. It was on
75%.
75% on that one, which is fair and a good effort. But we'll head on to question 5. You have probably already answered this one, but one of West Bromwich Albion's most recent Boxing Day wins came all the way back in 2012, where we beat QPR 2-1 at Loftus Road, with the only West Bromwich Albion goal scorer being, obviously, the other unknown goal. Who was it, Baden?
Mr. Chris Brunt.
Absolutely. There we go. Another correct answer for you. And heading into your 6th and final question. Albion's last win at Old Trafford before 2013, where of course Saido Berahino netted the winner in that one. It was back in 1978. It was a thriller, one of the most iconic West Brom games to date. But what was the score?
The score.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get this. Yeah, go on. I believe the score of this game, and unless I get it wrong, and you can take away my West Brom stuff, was West Bromwich Albion 5, Manchester United 3.
Oh, he's only gone and done it. What a performance there. What a performance from Baden. That's 5 out of, well, to be fair, it's more like 5.5 out of 5.75 out of 6, isn't it, really, with the answers you got right. But that is a very good effort. I feel like, do you think the questions were too easy, or do you think that your Albion knowledge just sponged them up, really?
I'd like to thank some people for a second. First of all, I want to let everyone know who has seen the name WBA Canada and thought, man, this is just some random guy who wears winter coats all year and plays hockey and doesn't know a thing about West Brom. That's for you. But first, I would like to say that the questions were just right for me in my mind.
Okay.
I know answers. I know Craig Dawson was around the club, and I still am not convinced that he didn't somehow be in the taxi. But that's for another day. But they were good.
They were good. Oh, thank you very much. But yeah, Baden, you've done a very good job there. If we do more, I feel like a leaderboard's going to have to be drawn up if this is done with other guests in future. But for now, Baden, you are the highest mark out of any West Brom guest that's come on the podcast so far. It's a massive achievement.
So, are you saying I'm top of the league?
You are.
WBA Canada. I'm top of the league.
You are the Fulham of the Baggies Podcast quiz chart at the moment. But yeah, well, maybe not Fulham. We'll say the West Brom of the one of the seasons that we've gone up at the moment. So yeah, you
809.
Yeah, 0809. We'll go with that one. You are top. You are top there. But Baden, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Baggies Podcast this week for our festive special. A massive thank you for joining us and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
pleasure to be out.
Absolute pleasure to have you. A massive thank you for listening to the Baggies Podcast this week. Really do appreciate it, and we really do hope you enjoy the festive period. Enjoy not watching Albion for a little bit of time. Obviously, the next game coming up on the 27th. But a big thank you for listening to the Baggies Podcast throughout the year. Really do appreciate it. We've come on leaps and bounds. If you haven't listened to any of the episodes with ex-players or any episode that you haven't listened to, go back and listen to them over the festive period. Treat yourself this Christmas. But a massive thank you for listening. And a very Merry Christmas from me and Baden and everybody here at the Baggies Podcast.
Merry Christmas.
And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.